What up, party people? I am Erika, and welcome to my channel. I just got through binge watching the entire season 6 of Handmaid's Tale, so I could get you guys the series finale, better than I've been doing. So, as if you all don't know, the series finale of Handmaid's Tale season 6 dropped on Tuesday. Spoiler alert: if you haven't watch it and come back, boo, because I'm going through all of the things. And let me know how you all feel about it. I loved the book. I loved the series. And, it's so hard to say goodbye. All right, you guys, let's get into it.
Tired of pretending, let them get the best of me. Whoa, 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 give me a break. The game is survival. Give me a break and claim my arrival. I wanna have.
All right, plan my arrival. Okay, you guys, we're talking everything Handmaid's Tale here today. Let me know in the comments how you all felt about this season overall. I loved this season. It kind of brought back what we loved about Handmaid's Tale and what we hate, right? The villains and our heroes, and everybody was a little bit of both. So I loved this season. I loved kind of the arc of the characters overall. For the series finale, I think I would give it um maybe a 7. I don't know. Do I like the crime and the violence? I don't know, but I really liked the last episode. I mean, uh when uh High Commander Lawrence was at the door of the airplane, knowing that he was going to have to go down in order for the mission. And he put his hand to his chest. I was like, oh, I could feel it. And then to see Nick pause as he's getting on the plane, almost as if he knew she was there, almost as if he knew I shouldn't do this. And he got on anyway. And the reflection of the explosion, you know what, you guys, maybe this weekend we'll go through the whole series and the shebang and our highlights, or at least definitely of the season. So that episode I liked. I loved the episode of in Game of Thrones. We had a red wedding. In here, I guess we had a blue wedding, of the wedding and sort of the handmaidens coming together as an army. I think those were my favorite episodes throughout this entire season. But that being said, let's get into the finale, blow by blow. So the finale starts, as we know, at the end of the last episode. Um, the handmaidens are captured, as is Aunt Lydia, and they're about to be hung at the wall when Luke and Rita and everybody comes in and saves them. And we see, June is actually hanging. She gives her speech. Aunt Lydia has done a full arc, and now we hated Aunt Lydia in season 1, and we are loving Aunt Lydia in season 6. So they're all about to hang, and fight ensues and they escape. They're not hung. But that being said, Janine is captured, and as we know, at the very end of the scene is when uh, Serena, as the Americans are taking over the city of Boston, Serena gives them tips about where the last living commanders, when they're leaving. And that's when Lawrence blows up the plane. Hi, Commander Lawrence, which I'm going to miss him. I would have wanted him to be in the next series, but no, well. And so we start off this with kind of like the aftermath of the explosion and the commanders. And the Americans are basically have taken over Boston. Um, but, there's basically a full on war with Gilead at this point. And so let's start with the first scene when June is back and healthy and she meets up with Moira and Rita at the fire. Let's go to that. Let's pull it up. Come on, baby cakes. Here we go. There we go. So we see, I would have liked, let's pull up Moira right here. I would have liked a little bit more of an ending from Moira. Let me know your thoughts. Here we kind of see them coming together, and this particular episode had a lot of reflection on times past, on kind of the good times, the good memories. And then there's a scene where June is imagining how things could have been. And we see them all like girlfriends at the club, and that would have been amazing. But how the horrors that they've suffered have brought them so close, but also changed them for who they are. So I would have wanted more to know more about Moira. Luke kind of tells us what's going on. And I would have wanted to know a little bit more about Rita and her sister and the rest of her family and kind of what her plans were. Is she doing a bakery somewhere? Like, what's going on? So I would have, but we kind of get this last kind of touching moment with them as they burn. I mean, even at one point, June throws in her handmaid's cape and they are burning, everyone's kind of burning the items. Right now, there's no light, but Luke does eventually get the lights on. But pretty much Moira is kind of pulling people together in Mayday. Now, does she have a new girlfriend? We don't know. They don't tell us. Um, I kind of feel like this episode, since we know there's a sequel or a spin-off show, I do feel like this episode, and while it wrapped up some things and we got to say, goodbye to some people, or we're kind of happy with where people are, I feel like this entire episode was to set us up for the new series, The Testament. So it kind of left things open so we can watch the new series. That's how I'm feeling. Let me know how you all feel in the comments, but that's definitely how I'm feeling. I liked it some of it, I will say, but I feel like they're pushing for the new. They're pushing it. I feel like we're being rolled in, like YouTube, they roll you into into the next stream. I feel like we're being rolled into the next series, as opposed to really giving the Handmaiden's Tale the conclusion it deserves. Those are my thoughts. But I still love the show. And I will check out the Testament just to see how that goes. But I would have wanted more on Moira personally. Uh, so let's see. So after Moira, Serena Joy. So here, okay. So, and yeah, so with Serena, let's talk about Serena right quick. So since Boston is taken over, Serena was kind of on the run. She's kind of in the mix of things, but we know Mark has a soft spot for her. And so Serena is given, it was really because of Serena that they were able to get the Commander Lawrence to kind of, be the, you know, take him out bomber. And so Serena, I'm 50-50 on her ending. What did you guys think? So finally, Mark, she's like staying there with a baby, and they're trying to. She's basically homeless. She doesn't have a passport. She doesn't have papers. She can't obviously go back to, since she betrayed them. She can't go back to Gilead, but she's also not totally welcome in America. So so or so I don't know. She's not really welcome. So what they decide for Serena, because I'm like, can't she just live in Boston like everybody else? Like everybody else was getting a house. Can't she just get a house? But apparently not. So, in this scene, we see Serena just in this early, just before this scene, before Serena is bust off. We see June sees Serena. She finds a little outfit for the baby. They kind of have, they have a touching moment. And Serena really tells her before she gets on the bus, like, I'm really sorry. I really, like, she really has come full circle. She really feels it. And even though June had told her she never would forgive her, in this scene, Serena gets June's forgiveness, and that is seems to be everything. So then we find out the finale of Serena is she basically, I don't know what's, I'm not sure what I'm not sure what state she went to. But she's in a homeless shelter, and we find out she doesn't have diapers. She hopes there are diapers. So I kind of, I don't know, is it just me? I kind of would want more for Serena. So I'm assuming she's going to be in the Testament, but who knows? But she's there with her baby, and she realizes like that's all she ever wanted, and she's so blessed. So while that is nice, and that's a wonderful closing, and I think she has come full circle. Also, Serena was a bad mama jamma. I don't want her to be in a homeless shelter too much longer. So, but she always ends up on top. So we know that. And it would be nice to see how Noah and Holly progress in the new season if they're in it. All right, moving right along. Oh my gosh. I don't have it. Did I not have, do I have, let me see. Do I have it? Oh, I don't. Let me see if I have an Emily overlay. I was so happy. So, because I thought, what did you guys think? I thought the way kind of Emily sort of, okay, she just left a fight after they killed Fred was kind of, let's see, let's put her here. Let's get her on the screen. Um, was kind of, like, I hated the way she left the series. So I'm glad that they gave us some closure to her. She went to fight in Bridgeport, and basically, she's still fighting the fight, but she kept in touch with her family, and she FaceTimed, and she's back together, and she realizes, because at first it was kind of like she abandoned everyone, but she did, we find out here that she does get back in touch with everyone, and she's still out there trying to free Gilead, and trying to take care of this bigger cause. So yay, we got some closure on Emily, because I hated the way they just like deuces she was out. So thank you, Emily, for doing this one scene. That was really sweet. So let's move on from Emily. So what we find out as well is that Janine and Aunt Lydia, so Aunt Lydia is helping the Americans now, so she's totally come full circle. Janine was captured but not killed, which I find interesting because they were going to hang her. So, but now, but she was captured. So uh, June is on a hunt to find Janine, basically. Also, we also find out that June's mother Holly and June's daughter Nicole slash Holly they do come back from Alaska, and everyone is united. So that part was really sweet. Let me get Emily off of here. And what we find out is this picture is, as I mentioned before, some of the issues, or what's interesting about this episode is um, the the marriage between Luke and June is very strange. It's very disconnected. He wants to be this fighter that he thinks she doesn't give him credit for because of all she's been through. She's like this warrior, mother warrior woman, and and we see her walking here as the streets and the of Boston are lit up, and she realizes that Luke has made this happen. Luke is the one who's putting together the bombs. Luke is the one who's doing all these things. I think she really starts to see Luke in a different light than she did in the past. Oh my gosh. So now this was the best scene ever. My girl Janine. Janine is like, you love June, but you love Janine. So somehow Mark has arranged for Janine to be freed, and they free Janine, and they come to the border, and June is there. And then, just as they kind of dump Janine on the ground like she's nothing, like she's garbage. And she's laying there, and June is coming to her. And then we see Aunt Lydia and Naomi with Janine's little girl, Charlotte. Although I think Naomi called her Angela, I think. And so they bring the little girl, and it is such a moment. So this is the moment that Janine gets to hold her little girl, which, I mean, in reality, it was very, very touching. But also, you know that little girl was terrified because she don't know you, Janine. But it was so sweet. Now, what's interesting is we all know that Janine's son um, is deceased, but June has never told her, and still at this point still hasn't. Um, but as much as Naomi, with her second husband down, she's a two-time widow, so who knows what's happening to her in Gilead? Goodness gracious! But she says, I just want her to be safe, and that's the first time she kind of shows some sort of well, that's not the first time she's shown some compassion to Janine before, but this was her true testament, her true test, and she came through. And then that's when we see our final our final scene with Aunt Lydia. Aunt Lydia has come full circle, and I think, especially in the earlier seasons, where we got to see how she came to be who she is, what she went through, and the people she lost, and kind of her adjustments. And we realized with Janine that Aunt Lydia, she loves those girls, and June kind of gives her with Serena some sort of forgiveness, because she recognizes that if you see the evil, you're not willing to go down that path. And I think Aunt Janine's response was under his eye, I believe. I think that's what she said. I was like, okay, that's why we know you leading season 2, boo. So yeah, we had a decent closing with Aunt Lydia, but we see her walking back to Gilead. So that so we'll see what happens, but that was the end for Aunt Lydia, but kind of a very positive end. So let's move on to a little bit of June. Let's put June up here. Come on, June, baby. Okay. So let me keep it moving, because this review is going to end up being as long as the episode. But no. All right. So June decides, and here we see her, Holly and her mom come, and here we see June is telling Holly, or excuse me, her daughter, that's the real name, telling her daughter Nicole, and eventually her mother. And here's a picture of her with her mother. She's telling them both that she's going to continue to fight. She wants to go back and basically fight this war against Gilead, because at the end of the day, we find out in the series finale that they've saved Boston, but Gilead is still out there. It still exists. There's, all the commanders from Boston are gone, but there's still obviously other commanders, other armies, and both June and Luke decide to continue to fight. And here she's telling her mother, okay, I want you to um, you know, watch Nicole a little bit longer because I'm going back in. And her mother agrees to do it. She's like, I have faith in you, but why do you have to do it? And I think it is deeper than the fight for Hannah. It's the fight for, all women and the fight for the little girls that are still left in Gilead. So that's what she has decided to do. So let's move on to now this is the one thing I wasn't a fan of how this ended. So at the end, we see Luke and June have one last sort of conversation. He kind of tucks her on the cheek, so there's no hug, there's no kiss. He says, we both changed. We don't know each other like we did before. He wants to be this fighter. He basically wants validation from her about who he is. And I think he's finally getting that. And both the mother, Holly, and Luke are like, you need to write this down. There are people who loved you, like Lawrence and Nick, and people who you loved, and they shouldn't be lost. And so that's how, we kind of come full circle into why we're here. It's because she took the time to write down The Handmaid's Tale. Um, she tells Luke that she's going to work with him. I guess I don't understand how why they can't be why they both can't work with Mayday or both work with the Americans or whatever. So that part, so it was sort of like, oh, meet me here on New Year's Eve, like that movie. So they agree that they're both going to come together eventually to save Hannah. They're both continuing to fight for Hannah, but down different paths. So one of the biggest disappointments we see, June reflecting on the past. We see June, seeing how things were with Hannah. And there's even a scene where it's almost as if Hannah is touching her hand, but they don't reunite. So to me, I feel like that's the draw to bring you to the next series, the Testaments, the sequel. But here, so this was the part that was kind of, I don't know. This was the part that made me like, no, I want them, Nick is gone. I want her to be with Luke. And maybe it will be in the next series, but not in this finale. So Luke is going with Mayday and Moira to fight in New Jersey. She's going to go fight with Mark, and they agree to meet up when they go to rescue Hannah. So to be continued. And then the final scene of June, she goes back to the house where it all began. She goes back to her room and she begins to record and write her book, The Handmaid's Tale. And that's it, you guys. We've come full circle. At least at least for this series. So you guys, let me know, what were your thoughts? What were the moments? If I missed something that you wish I would have talked about, let me know. I'll come back. But yeah, let me know how you all feel about it being over. It's like saying goodbye to a good friend. I'm gonna miss them. I think, are you guys gonna watch the Testaments? What are your feelings on the new series? How do you feel about the fact that she was not reunited with Hannah? How do you feel about the fact that she and Luke are not divorced, but they ain't together? How do you feel? Did you want to know more about Myra and Rita like I did? Let me know your thoughts and comments below. And if you're still here, then I want to say thank you, and like, comment, subscribe. All right, you guys, ciao for now. And as I always say, be true, be you, be great. Ciao for now, you guys. See you in the next video.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No.